On this week's episode of American Airgunner, we'll be sitting down at the round table. We're joined by Blue Book of Airguns Steve Fiestead to discuss the amazing history of airguns. Rick Usler will be reviewing the Umarex Octane. All right, we're back here at the round table to discuss some good old-fashioned airguns. I'm here with, of course, the Godfather, Jim Chapman, and we'd like to welcome Mr. Steve Fiestead to the table. Sir, how are you doing?
Thank you, good.
Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Guys, let's break it down. We're talking the history of air guns. We've got a bunch of books, magazines that have been written. Some of them it looks like a long time ago. When did people first start writing books on air guns?
Not that long ago, Rossi. Actually, this is one of the early ones from 1907.
1907. You're right, not that long ago.
It might be 1909. I may have misspoke. This is one of the early ones from 1909. But it was about one gun, the BSA. The BSA was the first modern air rifle. And it so revolutionized air gunning, or shooting even, in England, that the man wrote a book about it. King George actually introduced them into his army for target practice.
Okay. And what do we consider a modern air gun?
Well, a modern air gun has several things. Number one, it's rifle barrel. Two, it's reliable. Some of the older air guns were kind of flimsy, even though they look like they're stoutly made. Number three, it's built along modern lines. Some of the older air guns don't kind of look like rifles at all. They look odd to our modern eyes.
So this is obviously over 100 years old, and now looking at what kind of has become the Bible of air guns over here, the Blue Book of Air Guns, Steve, which you have written and published and putting out, this is like the 10th edition?
Yeah, that's correct. That's the 10th anniversary.
How did it go from this little guy to this big guy?
Well, actually, I rode on top of a lot of backs in this industry. Tom is, you're right, he's the Godfather. He started, as far as I'm concerned, he started the popularity of the modern air gun, really got it going, and I think through his efforts advanced the technology, got people interested in it, reported about the history. Here's one of his publications. I was talking to you earlier, Tom. What year was this?
Probably 96.
I was fascinated by this stuff because I was an air gunner myself, and there weren't any really books about the entire field, especially new ones, and I was getting calls with the Blue Book of Gun Values. Steve, what's this air gun? What do I have here? I got a Steyr. What is this thing? So I go, why don't I just put it in the gun book for a while and see where this goes?
Yeah.
Well, it got bigger and bigger. Then in 2001, we came out with the first edition of the Blue Book of Air Guns, 6x9. And from the humble little start, it's grown into the monster on steroids, the 10th edition, and we're working on the 11th edition right now, which is going to be over 700 pages.
Goodness gracious. When are we putting this thing online?
It is online.
Okay, good, because somebody hit me with one of these not too long ago, and I'm still
It's a lethal weapon.
You're right about the history of the air gun review. When I first moved back to the States, and I was seriously into air gunning, and they had a couple magazines back in the UK that I was reading, because they've had the air gun trend going for a lot longer there. But when I got here, there wasn't much reading material, and I started looking at the air gun review and also Beeman's catalog. That was the thing. That was like the Christmas catalog. Right. I could sit for hours looking through that.
Now, was that more of a shopping catalog, or was that about specific guns?
It was kind of a unique combination of the two. I mean, it was a catalog where you could buy, but he had a lot of articles. Tom wrote a lot of those articles.
Stuff.
Yeah, right.
It was wonderful. That's how we all learned.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more from the round table. American Air Gunner is sponsored by Umarex, Zeroed In, Pyramid Air, America's largest retailer of air guns, and by Hot Sign, serious, solid impact.
The pistols you've watched in action for generations and the ones you've always wanted to own are now within your reach. Introducing Umarex Action Pistols. These high-quality replica pistols, powered by CO2, look, shoot, and feel just like a powder burner. Plus, ammo is economical and always available. Umarex Action Pistols. From the past, present, and shooting into the future.
The Umarex Octane features tremendous velocity with a quiet downrange noise thanks to the integrated silence air noise dampening system. Powered by the Reaxis gas piston that provides more punch, more power, and more speed. These two technologies combined deliver a smooth, accurate shot with maximum power. The Umarex Octane.
PyramidAir.com. Let's see.
That was fast. Bingo.
Honey, did you do those chores yet?
Chores.
Roger, put that drink down. We gotta mow. Chop, chop.
Oh yeah, he's out there showing the grass who's boss.
Pyramid Air. Big selection, fast shipping, the airgun experts.
Welcome back to the Round Table, as we are continuing our discussion about the history of air guns. When you first started writing about air guns, what was the point? What message were you trying to get there? Why did you start writing about air guns?
It wasn't a message, Rossi. It was a strange thing. I had a subscription to an American airgun magazine. It was one of those low-density magazines, only goes out to 1,000 people or so.
Sure.
And right in the middle of the subscription, the thing folded. And there I was without my magazine, and I screamed and yelled, and my wife said, "Why don't you write a magazine?" I
Classic
said,
wife.
I don't know anything about air guns. And she said, sit down and write out the titles of the articles you could write. 3 legal sheets later, I had over 90 titles, and we started the Airgun Letter, which was my newsletter in 1994.
That's a collector's item these days, by the way.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, goes
Like Benjamin
Yeah.
Franklin's old letters.
Yeah,
big money on eBay.
Hey, by the way, you guys, you're missing something on Beeman, though, okay? Okay, what was on the inside page, last cover, back cover of every airgun catalog that he ever put out? We'll buy your old airgun $10 to $40. And that was the intake mechanism for Dr. Beeman's airgun collection.
Is that where it came from?
Sure, and he bought them cheap. Nobody was buying stuff for $400 or $500.
Actually, he wouldn't give you cash. He'd give you credit off on a sale.
On a trade. For a new gun.
Those guns were $200 or $300 at that time as well. I mean, they were pretty expensive air guns.
And he's getting them for 10 to 40 bucks. So how big's his collection now?
It's huge. It's
4,000.
probably the largest in the world.
4,000 guns.
Yeah, I've been there, and you can't get them in 8 rooms.
Wow, and he's got them from what, like the very
Oh,
earliest?
he's got unique guns, doesn't he? I mean, they go back to the European guns, 200-300 years.
He's got them everything up to 1986. That's where he stopped. That's when he sold Beeman. And but he's got Ghirardonis. He's got Austrian sniper rifles.
He's the man who gave the Ghirardoni rifle that Lewis and Clark carried to the U.S. Army. He donated it, and that's a over $1 million rifle.
So what's that collection worth now?
You know what? He would be one of the few people on the planet who would know, and I wouldn't want to try to buy it from him.
Yeah.
That's why this book is so wonderful, because it gives us a starting point. The numbers in here are always a little bit off from what you find in reality, but that's going to be true of anything.
Sure.
Any shopper's guide. But they give you a starting point. You know whether the thing is rare or not. You know what kind of condition it needs to be in, what kind of finish it used to have. All of that's in here. That's what this man has done for our community.
But I've had a lot of help along the way. I mean, Beeman helped me out tremendously. It's not just a pricing guide either, Ross. There's a lot of history in that book that we felt was important. I mean, why is an RWS, why is a fine work bow, why is an early Crossman Daisy worth that kind of money? Well, if you bring up the history and get people interested in the history, now you have a potential collector base.
Right.
See, I found this to be very, very close in terms of what the values of the guns I've looked at. The only thing that I think is difficult to capture are these guns that build up a fast cult following. You know, we all see it. There are these guns that are built, and the day after you get the gun, you can sell it for twice what you paid for it.
Okay, so let me ask this. Starting with you, Steve. What's the oldest gun that you've actually put your eyes on?
Ghirardoni,
Yeah?
Austrian, from Vienna, absolutely.
What year?
1775, 76, something like that.
Wow.
Only because Beeman had his collection on display, some of his collection. Interesting guy, and you know, he started the airgun business, but without Tom over here and what he's done and his tenacity to keep going and keeping us all educated, there's only one guy at the SHOT Show that I asked to walk around and inform me of what's new and what's hot and what's not. That's that gentleman right there.
All right, Steve, I'm going to let you get his autograph later. Guys, I'm going to have to cut this off. You guys have way more information than we can handle in this segment. If you want any more information about air guns, the history of air guns, where you can find the Blue Book of Air Guns, or maybe we can get the Godfather's old letters, maybe, go to AmericanAirgunner.com. We'll be right back. Guys, I mean, you two enough with your encyclopedia knowledge, and then you throw this guy. All right, guys, after the break, we'll see what Rick Usler has to say about the Umarex Octane. Stick around. All right, it's time for our American Airgunner Trivia, brought to you this year by our friends at Blue Book Publications.
A legend in innovation and tradition. These classical and modern masterpieces have sent pellets downrange for over 3 decades. German engineered to last a lifetime. Quality, power, precision. RWS, the world's finest air rifles.
All right, we're here at Airgun Web with Rick Usler to do a little gun review at what I like to call Airgunner's Paradise. This place has absolutely everything.
Absolutely.
Rick, how are we doing today?
Doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing good. So I see here we're looking at the Umarex Octane.
Correct.
How long have you had it, and have you had a chance to put it through the ringer?
I've had it for a while. I've got it through the break-in period, and it's, I'll tell you, from the time I took it out of the box, it was shooting almost dead on. So,
really? How many shots does it take typically to get it through the break-in period?
Well, each gun's going to be different. I say a minimum of 250.
How do you know? Does it like ding?
It just smooths out.
Okay.
I mean, it cocks a little smoother, the trigger pulls a little better. It'll just settle out. Now, if you have a chronograph, you'll know when it breaks in, because when you first get it, you're gonna have a high variance. One will be real fast, one will be real slow. And as it breaks in, that'll start to tighten up. And when you get it real consistent, then you know it's broken in.
Why don't we kick off things with just aesthetically? What are your favorites?
Well, it's very cool looking. One thing I really like about the stock, and they did a really good job with this, is that for those that like the thumb hole grip, I'm not a fan of it personally, but you've got it. But if you're more traditional, it actually works really well just running your thumb right up the back. Okay. That's how I would normally shoot. It's not uncomfortable. And you know, most thumb hole grips, it's either thumb hole or nothing.
Sure.
But this is actually really nice. So if you like a more traditional feel, this works great.
Okay.
Aesthetically, it's great. I don't know what else to say. You don't have a hollow sound at all. They've got a great trigger. They've got the silence air system up front for the suppressor, so it's super quiet. They put a weaver rail on here so your scope won't ever slip. They've included decent rings, and the scope's actually a really good optic. And one of the features you have, which is very unique and nice to find, is you have what's called an adjustable objective. So you get your gun out and you're going to shoot something close, and you zoom all the way in, all of a sudden it's real fuzzy. You can actually set your range here so you have full use of the magnification, and it always stays in focus.
Okay, so I can see, so it's marked 10, 15, 20, looks like all the way up to, wow, 300 yards and infinity.
And
there's literally an infinity.
To infinity and beyond.
There's an infinity mark right there. While you were putting this thing through the ringer, did you find anything that surprised you about the gun?
Absolutely. This is what I'm going to call a super magnum. So it's really at that upper edge of the power level. Usually in a super magnum, you're going to get dieseling when you first get it. That's the lubrication, the initial lubrication kind of burning off. It's very loud and messy, and not a lot of fun during that break-in period. Right. You get a lot of recoil with a super magnum, and it's just difficult to shoot. I didn't have any of that with this.
Really?
I was really, really impressed with just how well it shot out of the box. I threw the scope on it and I was only an inch off. Now, can't guarantee that's going to be the case for everybody, but it was just a joy to take it out of the box, set it up, and have no drama. And even the trigger was very good. I was just very, very impressed.
Let's go put it to the test, shall we?
Sounds like a plan. You want to grab it?
Yeah. So we've heard all the specifics about this gun. One things I'm anxious to see is the silence, how quiet it is.
Right. Here we go.
The Umarex Octane. And here we go. Now these are great American Airgunner targets. There's the little ones on the side, there's the big one, there's a lot of different places you can go with it.
I call this my shop multi-shot target because there's lots of targets on it.
Okay.
It's very quiet.
I mean, that sounds completely different than it did inside.
Yeah, it's very, very quiet. And I'm using a trap that is a silent pellet trap, so you don't get the impact out here either.
I mean, if you're looking for a gun, may I?
Absolutely.
If you're looking for a gun, like you talked about, that if it's obviously legal, but you want to shoot in your backyard to not annoy your neighbors or make them think you're shooting a rifle out here, this is definitely the gun.
Right.
That is nice. People are always asking me, what's the best air gun for this? What's the best air gun for that? And it typically comes down to, what can I shoot?
Yeah, what can I kill?
What can I knock down targets, kill varmints if I'm having a problem, and not be the guy that looks like that you can hear and it sounds annoying to your neighbors.
Right.
And I mean, I gotta tell you, this is...
And that's a very high-powered rifle.
It really is.
It's very, very quiet.
The Umarex Octane, great gun. If you want more about Rick's basic rundown of this gun, you can check out his links for Airgun Web at AmericanAirgunner.com. Rick, always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thanks, man.
Great
and I gotta tell you, I might go spend the weekend in your garage.
Yeah, absolutely. You're always welcome.
Thanks, man. Next week on American Airgunner, we'll be back in Arizona for the 2013 Shoot Right Airgun Expo. We'll see you next week.